News Channel 5 on your side presents Kaleidoscope, focusing on people who make a difference in Northeast Ohio communities.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast again today. The Executive Director of Lamari Speaks, Lamont Robinson, is here to share information about anti-bullying and autism awareness programs offered to students throughout his organization. Later, we'll hear from the President and CEO of the National Urban League, Mark Morial, and Morgan Stanley Executive Alice Vilma. They'll share information about the Capital Access Fund for minority businesses. And on the broadcast after that, the President and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, Marsha and the CEO of the National Development Council, Robert Davenport, will discuss how several organizations have come together to launch the Capital Access Fund of Greater Cleveland. Good afternoon again, everybody. I'm Leon Bibb. This is Kaleidoscope, and so we begin. Beginning with Lamont Robinson, who's Executive Director and CEO of Lamari Speaks. Good to see you, Mr. Robinson.
Good to see you, too.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Things are going well?
Okay.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Definitely.
What is the mission of Lamari Speaks? What does it do?
Lamari Speaks is a program where we go to the schools, inner city schools, and bring autism awareness and try to prevent bullying happening to the kids that's special needs and that's on the spectrum of autism.
It has gotten to be a problem, this problem of bullying in this country, hasn't
Definitely.
it? Yeah.
And it's real easy to bully someone that doesn't have a voice. So
who is Lamari?
Lamari is my son. He's a young man that was diagnosed with autism around 18, 19 months when he went into his life. And he started out speaking at 1 year old, running just like a normal child, and then he became nonverbal, just stopped talking.
Yeah.
So, of course, we took him to the doctor. Me and his mom had no clue what was going on. Found out what autism was, never heard of the word, and we went home, we started diving in, getting information, try to find out what it is, how to help my son get back to being who he was before. So we did some information, started changing his diet and getting him the help and necessary things that can help him become a normal young man in this society. And fast forward to today, he's a college student at Kent State University.
How's he doing at Kent State?
He's doing well. He's doing real well. It's the first month, he just started there in September. First month was a struggle.
Yeah.
Just with trying to figure out where to go, how to do it, and, you know.
So that became the inspiration for you to found Lamari Speaks.
Well, what was the inspiration was he was in middle school. He had came home and his book bag had been glued, his coat was glued, and the students was picking on him. And I didn't know how to handle that. So I went to one of his teachers to try to find out who were the students. She had no idea, so she started looking out for the kids to see what the reaction were. So I went to the principal. The principal hadn't done anything about it. It was a principal that was on her way to retiring.
Yeah.
So I got back in touch with the teacher. The teacher figured out who the kids were. I met with the children, sent letters home to the kids, to the parents, so I could meet the parents, to, you know, find out what's going on. So I spoke to the kids, and come to find out, they were jealous of my son because he was getting good grades.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
So how do you help other folks who may be in similar situations now?
Well, how do I help them now is the parents and the children. I get them the necessary services, put them in contact with the necessary people, or so they can get the help for their child, or the parents can just get help, period, for themselves, because they don't have anyone to talk to, because it's such a small community. You're just not going to walk down the street and run into someone that has autism, because it's not a face.
So people who may be faced with this situation in their families, they can contact you.
Yes.
And you're kind of a clearinghouse.
Yes.
You're a clearinghouse to get them to where they need to get and give them information and certainly give them emotional support.
Yes.
I want to put a phone number on the screen where we can get more information as we continue our discussion with Lamont Robinson, who's Executive Director of Lamari Speaks. It's 216-235-1598. You see at the bottom of the screen, or you can go to Lamari Speaks, Lamari Speaks.com. NewsChannel5.com, get more information on everything what we're talking about. Okay. What do you see that people, what do they say when they come to you? Where do they begin?
They start off as pain in their voice, because first of all, you can't believe there's something wrong with your child. So most people don't have a clue where to go, who to talk to, how to get help, or just a sounding board, just anybody they can reach out to, because their child is going through things that they never thought their kid would ever go through.
In our final minute, how big an area do you handle, can you cover?
Oh, huge. I'm working with the inner city schools.
So you're working with Northeast Ohio then?
Yes.
Anybody from Northeast Ohio can call you.
Yes.
And this anti-bullying has got to stop, and you're working with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, what we do also, not just speaking, bringing awareness to what autism is, we actually set up programs to get the special needs kids together with the regular ed kids, bring them together, and by way of any form, playing games together, just to bring them together, become friends. You befriend someone, you're not going to let anyone else pick on them. So that's the beginning of, because social is a big problem for autism.
So in our final 30 seconds, it is not only support for the parents, it's support for the youngster himself or herself.
Definitely.
You want those youngsters to fit in with the rest of the kids, and for the kids to understand that this youngster here, our friend,
it's not a disease. You can't catch it.
Has autism, and we're going to help him through school. We're going to help him. And your son's doing well down at Kent State?
My son's doing real well.
How old is he now?
He's 21 now.
21 and doing well at Kent State.
He earned the right to go to Kent State. He started out at Notre Dame, and then now he's on his own in campus life.
Good for him and good for you.
Thank you.
235-1598 is the phone number, or you can go to LamariSpeaks.com. You see it at the bottom of the screen. We'll put it there, LAMARI Speaks.com. More information on everything we've been talking about. Many thanks, Lamont Robinson. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tell Lamari we said hi.
I sure will. Thanks for having me.
I'll take a break. We'll be right back. We'll talk about the Capital Access Fund for minority businesses after we do this first. Welcome back to more of Kaleidoscope. Mark Morial is president and CEO of the National Urban League. He joins me now, along with Morgan Stanley executive Alice Vilma, to share information about the Capital Access Fund of Greater Cleveland, how the idea came about, and how the residents in the Greater Cleveland area can profit from all of this and benefit from all of this. Good to have you with us, Mark.
Always, Leon. Thank you.
On the right there, president of the Urban League, CEO, and Alice Vilma, who's executive director of Morgan Stanley Global City Markets Division. Good to both have you in Cleveland. Mark, let's begin with you. This Capital Access Fund for local communities, what is this?
Well, what this really is a loan fund. It's money, Leon, but it's money available to be invested in businesses through loans. So essentially what it is it's a statement by the National Urban League, the Cleveland Urban League, Morgan Stanley, the National Development Council, and many other partners to really create access to capital for small businesses, particularly businesses owned by people of color here in Cleveland and northeastern Ohio.
That's a good
So that's what it is. So it's really dealing with an issue, Leon, that we always hear about, and that is it's tough to get capital for these businesses, these entrepreneurs with great ideas and enthusiasm to grow.
Okay. Alice, you're with Morgan Stanley now in New York City. What's Morgan Stanley's involvement in all of this?
So Morgan Stanley's involvement is providing the financial resources around the Capital Access Fund. So of the total $8 million that has been raised to provide loans to these small businesses, we provided $2 million of that. And that was specifically so that we could have a meaningful stake in the Capital Access Fund and have a meaningful relationship not only with the National Urban League and the National Development Council, but the City of Cleveland as well.
What's the thought process behind this, providing, you're getting involved in this? What's the philosophy behind all of this?
Absolutely. So I'm part of the multicultural client strategy group at Morgan Stanley, and our sole mandate and goal is to provide access to capital and for commercial opportunities in the multicultural business segment. And so we wanted to specifically address the need the need of multicultural, specifically African American businesses to have access to capital because of the market inefficiency that exists currently and the disparity between multicultural entrepreneurs having access to capital and mainstream.
Now, Mark, as national president of the Urban League, you're trying to do this across the nation, aren't you?
Cleveland has really been a pioneer and a model. We began about a dozen years ago here in Cleveland with the creation of our first entrepreneurship center. And under Marsha Maccabee's leadership, it's really taken off and become one of our very best centers. And so through that center, we provide classes and coaching for small entrepreneurs. What this does is add to what we're able to do. So we're trying to prove here that this concept of partnership, Morgan Stanley, National Development Council, and the Urban League, by working together, can really make a difference in the growth patterns and the job creation efforts of small entrepreneurs. If we can be successful here in Cleveland, and I know we will be, our thought process is we need to take this to many other cities across the nation. But what we also want to do is continue to grow the commitment here in Cleveland. So this commitment's $8 million. I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to renew and up that commitment once we demonstrate the success here.
Is Cleveland the point of the spear in doing this? Is one of the leading cities?
It is, and I'll tell you why. For a number of reasons. You know, Cleveland has a very strong community of African-American entrepreneurs. Cleveland also is a community, like many communities, that face tremendous challenges with how to create new jobs that pay good wages. One way to do it is to build, to invest, to lift up small businesses. They're the main job creators in America, and I think by doing it with a focus on African-American businesses, we can make a difference. So Cleveland's the tip of the spear. Cleveland is Exhibit A. And I know we're going to succeed here.
Alice, Morgan Stanley is not going to be involved in this unless it sees that this can be successful. You are fairly certain this works.
That's absolutely right. We believe in the approach to Cleveland because of exactly what Mark was saying with respect to the critical mass that we have here with multicultural entrepreneurs, particularly in the African-American community. We see the market inefficiency. We want to address that market inefficiency because when there's a market inefficiency, there's an ability to make some money and provide some positive commercial impact. So we absolutely see not only the success here in Cleveland, which we think there'll be tremendous success, but the opportunity to grow and address this market opportunity in a commercially positive way going forward.
In our final 40 seconds in this segment, we're going to continue this, by the way, in the next segment, but in our final 40 seconds in this segment, if we can help those minority businesses, black businesses specifically, that helps the entire nation, doesn't it?
That's exactly right. It's about job creation. It's about wealth in the communities and providing loans and access to capital for African-American businesses does exactly that, and this loan program does exactly that.
This is what the Urban League wanted to do when it got started at the turn of the last century.
We're all about economic empowerment, we're all about jobs, and we're about economic self-determination and self-sufficiency. So we're going to help people fulfill their dreams. Those entrepreneurs out there who are watching and listening, contact the Cleveland Urban League.
Okay. We're glad to have both of you visiting Cleveland, too. Good to have you both in town.
Thank you.
For a big special program that we had the other day with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. Good to have you both here. Two good folks. Alice Vilma, Executive Director of Morgan Stanley Global Capital Markets Division, and Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League and the former Mayor of New Orleans. Good to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'll take a break. We'll continue talking about this with Marsha Maccabee and Robert Davenport of the National Development Council after we do this first. Welcome back to more of Kaleidoscope. The president of the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, Marsha Maccabee, and the National Development Council CEO, Robert Davenport, join me now, and they'll continue our conversation about the Capital Access Fund for Greater Cleveland. This fund will help minority businesses maintain jobs here in Northeast Ohio. Good to have you with us, Marsha Maccabee, as always. Good to see you, as always. And Robert Davenport.
Thank you.
What do you think about what you just heard in that last segment with the president of the National Urban League?
Oh, my goodness, Leon. We certainly are so very pleased to be the pilot place for this exciting initiative. And, you know, we just recently launched our centennial year celebration for the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, and we made a big announcement about this Capital Access Fund there. The response has been overwhelming. We're getting calls at the Urban League. We're getting lots of media response and interest to this. So we are excited about how we're going to be able to help to capitalize our minority businesses here in the Cleveland area.
Okay, I'm going to get back to you in a little bit and ask you about who should be calling and who can benefit from all of this. But I want to bring in Robert Davenport into the conversation, National Development Council. What's its role, Robert, in this?
Well, our role really is to provide the second leg of the partnership. We have created really a bridge from the minority community into the finance community. We all know that the Urban League is trusted by the minority community. NDC is trusted by and large by the finance community. We've been working in small business financing since 1992. And we've got a very good track record. And so we're really providing the second leg of the bridge.
So you're positive that this thing can work.
Absolutely.
This is what's going to make the big difference.
Yes, and let me explain what really is different. Putting money out on the street is easy to do. Growing businesses is a process that takes time. It's difficult. And what we've created is the support network with the organization that Marcia's built over the last 7 years. We've built the support network that to be able to work with the businesses before they borrow money, then they borrow money, and then they repay the money, and we work with them every step of the way, pre and post borrowing, until the loan has been successfully repaid.
Marcia, here in the greater Cleveland area, what businesses should apply for this money? What do they need to know before they make that phone call to 622-0999, your phone number over the Urban League?
Okay. So the first thing is, Bob explained, Leon, this loan fund is embedded in a process to help the business grow and develop. So the first thing that has to happen is they really have to be connected with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, and we have to be able to meet with them, determine what stage their business is in, what are the different business acumen areas that need to be developed, and then to begin to get a plan on how to do that, and then look at how the loan sort of fits into that.
Do they need to already be in business?
They can certainly contact us if they're early startup, but because of the requirements of the loan, there are requirements of already being in business, because you have to be able to establish that you already have revenue coming in and those kinds of things. But if they're a startup business, we can serve them within our Small Business Development Center to get them on track.
Robert, you're doing this in other cities as well.
We're with this pilot program?
Yeah.
No. This is number one. And we're working very hard to make sure that we create the model that works, that we can take elsewhere.
So this has to work in Cleveland for this to go on a nationwide basis. The National Development Council would not be involved in this if you didn't see that there's light at the end of this tunnel.
Absolutely. It's time to basically create economic opportunity in our low-income communities. It's time to remove the barriers to access to credit, and we've got enough of history that we can do that now.
There's a phone number I want to put on the screen, 622-0999. More information on everything we're talking about if you call the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, or you can go to ulcleveland.org. Marcia, this fits with the vision of the Urban League that you have had, your organization has had, for 100 years now.
Absolutely. And as we go into the next century, Leon, the vision that we're casting for the second century is about being systems-driven, community responsive, and collaboratively positioned. And I'm proud to say that our Capital Access Fund absolutely meets every one of those principles.
In our final minute or so, I think we've got a minute, what impressed you about getting involved with the Urban League, the National Urban League and the local Urban League?
Well, just to sort of continue on Marcia's response, well, she's been doing this for 100 years. NDC's been doing it for only 50. We were born out of the riots that occurred after the assassination of Martin Luther King. And it's been a natural for us. What impressed us about Cleveland is the strength of the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. It's a very strong organization. It's got the skills and the sensitivity necessary to coach and counsel and mentor the businesses, and that's why we selected Cleveland to be the first place.
In our final 30 seconds, Marcia, what do you tell these businesses out here that may be saying, hey, maybe I can fit into this? What do you tell them?
Absolutely. Thank you, Leon. We tell them to contact the Urban League of Greater Cleveland and come on in and talk to our folks and let us assess where you are and let us help you determine what your next step should be and provide you the coaching, counseling, support, and then ultimately connect you to access to capital where we can.
How big a pot of money are we talking about?
We're talking about $8 million.
But that's the starter. I mean, the truth is that you have to select a number, prove that it works, and then expand.
Okay, many thanks. Robert Davenport, CEO of the National Development Council, and Marcia Backaby, President and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. Thanks for being in this segment. I'll continue this discussion in just a moment. This is Kaleidoscope. I'll be back in a moment. Continuing our discussion now here on Kaleidoscope with Marcia Backaby of the Urban League of Greater Cleveland and Robert Davenport of the National Development Council. You were saying during the break, you funded some businesses already?
We have several businesses who have already received loans with us. When we actually announced this, we wanted to be sure we already had businesses. But we've been able to do that, Leon, because we have local partners who have come to the table and supported this Capital Access Fund along with Morgan Stanley and, you know, our national fund that comes through also Cuyahoga County. So Key Bank is our lead local sponsor. The Cleveland Foundation is a sponsor. The City of Cleveland, Burton D. Morgan, PNC, and Fifth Third.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah. Robert, can we make this a major building block for this American economy?
We would hope so. And I'm confident we can. It'll take time. It'll take a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. But we're up for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Does that inspire you? I mean, does that inspire you here at the local level where the rubber meets the road?
Yes.
You're here where the work gets done in Cleveland. Does that inspire you and your organization?
It certainly does, Leon, because where you have a national vision and national support, it has helped to spark the local commitment from our funders here. And it sets a tone to say this is important on both a national level and a local. And we have partners that can help us to get where we need to be. So I'm very inspired and encouraged.
In our final 15 seconds, that's the kind of thing you need to hear at the National Development Council.
Yes.
For you to put an investment of what you're doing into this organization.
Correct.
If you hear that, then we're off and running, and we're going to do well.
We're off and running.
Okay, all right. Okay. That's going to do it for us. We appreciate you being with us. It's been a wonderful broadcast today. For many thanks from Marcia Backaby and Robert Davenport and all of our guests who've appeared on this broadcast. I'm Leon Bibb. Good luck and be well, and we'll talk again.
This has been a presentation of News Channel 5's Kaleidoscope, a weekly public affairs program brought to you in partnership with the Urban League of Greater Cleveland.